about you.
Wow.
Good dreams or bad dreams?
Well, I'll let that up to your imagination. All right. Obviously, first day of spring practice. We've had a good off season. I mean, I'm really pleased with the leadership of our team, and that was evident today. We practiced the right way today. You were all there today. The pace, the competitiveness. You don't have guys on the ground on a first day practice when you're in helmets. You guys are lucky because it doesn't get much better than that for a first day practice. It was competitive. There was high levels of execution, and there was a really good tempo to the practice. We got a lot of work done technically and tactically, and that's what we were looking to do. And so, from that perspective, we took a good step forward in the construction of this team today. So that's really all I have to say. I'll let you guys fire away. I'm sure you've got a couple of questions that I probably don't want to answer.
As far as injuries, I mean, we saw
Yeah.
the guys off to the side.
Yep.
Are there guys like Kramer and Hainsey, are they going to be limited once you get to the contact?
No, they're not. They're not
Okay.
limited. We limited them on GPS today. Hainsey got up over 500 on his GPS, which is a workload number for us. It's a number that Rob Hunt and I look at and feel like where he is, we want a certain workload for him. He got to about 500, and we wanted to shut him down. Kramer got to about 375, and we shut him down today. But those guys are going to continue to work through and will be able to do virtually everything during the spring. So we're pleased with their progress.
Is there anybody that was out there today running around that wouldn't have contact?
Oh, yeah. Cam Hart is in shadow, aggressive shadow. You saw him out there today.
Yeah.
We're probably pushing the envelope a little bit with Cam. He's really wants to be out there, and I think we're being very cautious, but I think aggressive with Cam. Crawford's got a little bit of a hamstring. You didn't see him much today. Kaiser's out there. Lamb's about 3 weeks out before we can move him to the next level in his progression. Shane Simon's doing great. He'll be full go for camp. Howard Cross will be full go for camp. Let's see. Banks is about 5.5 weeks out on the foot.
Is it a break?
He had a fracture. Brunel had the cleanup from high school on the shoulder. But Skoranek, is about 90% from his ankle. He's doing much better. You saw Hayes out there. We'll modify him a little bit, but he's doing well. Quinn Carroll, the same thing. So, that's pretty much the injury list in terms of guys. So a lot of guys that are making their way back onto the practice
I didn't
field.
see Isaiah Robertson out there.
Yeah, he's still on scholarship. He's still with us. He's working on some things academically. We've given him some time to take care of some things that he needs to work on, and he's coming back from injury, so he wouldn't be able to practice anyways from that perspective. So, we just given him an opportunity to work on some things.
Brian, Joe Wilkins?
Yeah, just ill. He's got strep throat. Yeah, we've had it bouncing around with a couple of guys.
Brian, I noticed Kevin Austin running with the ones a lot in the drills. Is that something he's doing on his own or something you guys talking about doing? And what kind of spring are you hoping to see from that?
Yeah, I mean, today would not be a good day to kind of say who's the one, who's the two. There's always a pecking order in a sense that, guys are going to have to fit somewhere. But remember now, for the last 2.5 months, there hasn't been ones, there hasn't been twos. I don't put up a depth chart per se. I don't push that with our coaches. We don't like to talk in those terms, but somebody's got to go out there. What we like to talk to our team about is there's competitive opportunities out here, but somebody's got to go out there with 11 guys. And Kevin was out there today, and you can see he's a guy that can make plays. But there are other guys. McKinley made some plays. Ben Skoranek made some plays. Lindsey was making catches all over the place, improving. Obviously, the things that he worked on last year was, those congested catches and tough ball catches. The balls behind him, he made those today. So there's great competition with a lot of really good receivers. Lawrence Keys looked good out there today. I could probably go on and on. So it's really not about who's won today as much as about creating competition with a number of really talented receivers.
I'll clarify, because I wasn't trying to get a depth chart question, but more.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'll answer the question again then.
What are your hopes for Austin moving forward, given where he's come from and what you guys think he could be for you guys?
Well, he's always had the talent. He's obviously doing the things right. Both on and off the field. His development has been one that we're really pleased with, and that's why you're seeing a lot more of him, on a day like today.
Has Jamal McKinley been cleared for a fifth season, or has that been cleared?
The paperwork,
Yes.
it has been submitted, but none of that would come through until the end of, I think May 15th. Middle of May is when all of those are officially cleared.
So
We don't think that there'll be any issues.
Brian, you mentioned
We're not expecting any issues with him nor Crawford. Those would be the two.
Brian, the leadership you mentioned. I was curious, like where you're hearing different voices there, and then also how Ian Book's voice needs to be a little bit different. Maybe now that he's been through some highs and lows here, he's certainly has a different level of credibility, I would think, around here than last year.
I think most of it occurs in the locker room. I think a lot of it occurs, outside of the practice time. And so I think a lot of it's been developed prior to when we get on this field by setting standards and expectations. They know what they want to accomplish. We had a meeting yesterday with the staff. I think Katie was in it as well. Is that this is the first team that I've had that has really established in their own mind who they are and what they want to be, and that's hard to have a group of 18 to 21s come together and say this is who we want to be, and this is how we're going to go to work every day. So what you see out here today is manifested by how they do things on a day-to-day basis in the locker room, in the community, in the classroom, and you don't need a lot of guys out there yelling because they've set a standard as to how they want things to be accomplished.
First time since Mickens and McNulty have joined, we talked to you. Like, I don't know how much you watched them today, or
Sure.
your interactions with them in staff meetings over the last couple of weeks. What you like about what you've seen so far?
Well, the first part of that is just making sure that they understand what my expectations are of our coaches, and that is demanding but not demeaning, and clearly understanding that our guys, have high expectations, and that you are to meet those with your preparation and your teaching and your ability to motivate our players to the levels necessary to be at a championship level. So setting those standards, and then of course, obviously teaching the fundamentals of the game. This is about technique, and in spring practice, we're not out to win. We've already won the spring game. So this is really about, building that success and building that competency in the group that you have. And they're really good teachers, and they're different in their own right, but building success and competency with the group, and that's what they can do, and they've proven they can do that.
Brian, what do you see from Tom Reese since he's moved up, and his relationship with the quarterbacks, and the way everybody's coming together on the offensive staff?
Well, there's a lot of questions there. Which I'll tackle the first one. I don't know that this has been talked about as much, is that what I was looking for in the offensive coordinator, one of the key components there was that I wanted the coordinator to be the quarterback coach. And I just think that relationship is really key to having great communication, and some of the nuances that occur in play calling require that that relationship be with the coordinator. And my success and my experience has found that if you're not coaching at that position, there's a bit of a separation there that can occur, and I wanted it to be at that quarterback position. So Tommy had done that and was on a job interview during the bowl preparation and really liked the way that that went. So his relationships are really good. What really has been, for me, impressive is his relationships with all the players, not just the quarterbacks. Because you can't just be the offensive coordinator and the quarterback coach. You've got to have great relationships with the offensive lineman, the offensive line coach, the running backs, the running back coach, all of them. And he commands the room. He has really good interpersonal skills. He has a good sense and awareness. And he's going to do a great job at the position in which he's been hired for.
Brian, do you feel like Tommy, Lance Taylor now being the running game coordinator, is going to help translate to a better offensive line play in the run game? Do you think that chemistry with Jeff,
I don't know what you mean by better offensive line compared to what?
compared to last year?
Oh, see.
In the run game.
I don't know that we were that bad last year. We scored a lot of points.
Right.
There seems to be this narrative out there that we weren't very good at running the football. We were a pretty good offense last year. So we keep parsing last year. Our job is to win football games. And we're going to continue to work on that focus of everybody needs to improve in every facet. It's not just the offensive line. It's going to be tight end play, running backs, quarterbacks. And so, I don't know, there's this kind of pervasive feeling that, you know, the offensive line's got to get better. I got to get better. You know, the wide receivers have got to get better. Everybody's got to get better, and across the board. So I think we can get off that train of the offensive line's got to get better. Everybody's got to get better.
Brian, off the beaten path a little bit. I was curious about the new rule. It looks like it's going to get passed from the NCAA where you don't have to sit out that year anymore if you transfer. Do you have any thoughts of that? Is that good for the game? Is it?
I mean, look, I think that ship sailed. I think something's going to happen relative to transferring. You know, the ACC has approved that. So does it really matter what I think? You know, how's that? How does it really matter?
Folks want to know.
They really do. I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. And whatever I say is going to be taken 800 different ways. Look, this is about getting student athletes to be student athletes. So if there's a student athlete component in transferring, I'm fine with it. You know, I think you should give them the opportunity as long as they're students and athletes. That's really my only comment on it. But look, I was allowed to go from Central Michigan to Cincinnati. I got to move up. I got to move up from Cincinnati to Notre Dame. So if players want to move and move up, I don't have a problem with that. But I had to do some things to move up, you know. I have to be successful and do things the right way and follow the NCAA rules and you know, be a good citizen. So I think you don't just get to choose and do things whatever just because you want to do them. So, you know, as long as they're thoughtful and you know, have some parameters, I think it's fine.
Ian Book, obviously with a lot of new receivers around him, new faces, how much is he going to have to really step up his leadership? What are you looking from him? Obviously a great leader last season, but maybe even different.
I don't think I think his presence itself has been great. I mean, he's thoughtful. I mean, what's great leadership, right? To me, when you battle through adversity, after the Michigan game, for him to lead our football team to 6 consecutive wins, that's pretty good. That shows some resilience and some leadership, and all those guys know that. So they want to follow a guy like that just because of his actions from last year. So he's got a ton of credibility and a lot of respect from his peers. he doesn't really need to walk around and scream and yell. He's got a presence about him, and he just needs to be Ian Book. Complete a shitload of passes. That'd be great. You know, he keeps doing that stuff, and lead in the manner of who he is. He doesn't need to be anybody else. Just be Ian Book, and I think he'll be fine.
So I had a chance to go to spring training and spend a few days out there, and that made me think of the scandal they're dealing with, the technology line. Where's the sport in terms of so much technology? Where is it now, and what are the challenges, and how is it regulated? How is it regulated? What could happen there?
Yeah, we're regulated in terms of, we don't have some things that the NFL has in terms of, having, the laptops on the sidelines and being able to get, digital information at halftime, things of that nature. We're regulated from that standpoint. So we don't even have those feeds, that Major League Baseball has that led to maybe some of these things. And again, I'm not an expert on this stuff, right? I got my hands full here in football, but we don't have some of those things in college football. So, other than that, it really kind of ends the digital piece coming into the sideline or the locker room for us to gain any kind of, audio visual, advantages from that perspective.
You guys have to police your opponents in game in any way?
Yeah, not really. I mean, I don't think that's something that we even consider, and even talk about really from that perspective.
Ryan, whether it's Coach Mickey and Tommy Reese, I mean, I don't know if you've had full-time assistants who coached before Tommy got here.
I actually have, which is even worse, I actually have one of our trainers out here today, student managers. Her dad played for me
Where? Green Valley?
at Grand Valley. So that other stuff doesn't matter to me. It's when you have one of your manager's dad play for you, that's when you're starting to really feel it. I'm starting to feel like you a little bit.
In the case of Mickens or Reese,
I did cover Cole Komet's dad.
I know, that's what I'm saying. You've been there.
I mean, I remember Tom Reese last game, you came out and said, that guy will have a GA job for me if and when he wants it. I mean, how early with Tommy, with Mike Mickens, is it during their play days when you realize, hey, this guy, if he wants a job like mine one day, like he's going to be pretty good in this business? I mean, how early?
Are we referring to Mike?
Tommy and Mickens, both are. Yeah.
I thought Tommy was just somebody that had that presence about him that he wanted to always be in this profession. I didn't know about Mike really. Mike was very cerebral, very smart. He could always give you back what game plans were and what we wanted to do. He was really, really a sharp player, but I never knew that he would want to get into the business itself. But Tommy was a no-brainer.
Brian, what sold you on John McNulty as the tight ends coach?
I think that we really needed somebody dedicated to the position, and I think in the interviewing process, what I really liked about his presentation to me was his focus solely on teaching the techniques and his experience working with multiple tight ends. I thought, last year when your offensive coordinator was the tight end coach, the guy that gets left out sometimes is the tight end because he has so many other responsibilities that position in itself required much more focus and attention. And I thought he did a great job of showing why he should get this job. And I liked his presentation. I liked the way he handled himself. I liked his experience, and I liked his recruiting experience geographically as well. So there were a lot of things to like about, but primarily it was his focus on the position.
What's it mean to bring Chris Watt back? I believe he's taking on
Excited about Chris, obviously. Loved him as a player. His presence amongst our players is recognizable still. He just represents a group of he kind of has that attachment to the McGlincheys and the Nelsons and certainly the Eiferts and the Martins, so that group has been very successful. So he carries a lot of that. But in himself, he was a tough, physical, hard-nosed player, had a lot of versatility, and a very smart player, and he brings that to the coaching. So he'll be a big add for us.
I also saw Kerry Cooks wandering around watching
Yeah.
practice. Is he looking for a role here? Or what's
Yeah, we're in the process of there's an opening here that we've got to go through the HR process, but we have an analyst position that.
Coach, what type of mentality are you looking for to see in your tight ends unit, especially with
Yeah.
Brock, right?
Yeah, so good question. I mean, as you saw today, if you watched, we employed a lot of two tight ends, and one of them, certainly, can obviously be moved around, but they've got to be physical inline blockers. So a physicality is a mindset. It's not just a guy that is in space catching footballs. They've got to be able to do both. So the mindset of being physical, blocking a six technique, not just blocking out on the perimeter, and having that kind of physicality to the position.
Coach, you
Couple
talked
more.
about the technology earlier that Mike brought up. With how much the technology's grown in the 10 years since you've been here, is there been any kind of push amongst coaches at college football conventions to maybe get more access to things in games like they have in the NFL, or are you guys kind of comfortable with where things are now?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, we operate, on, much more of a reactive level. We're still trying to figure out targeting, we're finally getting the kid off the field to stay on the field. I mean, we just, it just seems like we're a step behind here. But, I mean, there are some really, very simple things that we could be doing. I don't know why we have 8 signalers, when we could put an earpiece in the helmet to talk to the quarterback. It shuts off before the end of the play clock. They seem to be easy fixes. I don't know if it has to do because we have a legislative body that makes it more difficult. I'm not in there, so I'm not on that committee, so I really can't talk about it. But I would agree with your question, and it's, we should be a little bit more cutting edge when it comes to technology. We're just not.
Let's take one more question.
One more.
Tariq Bracy obviously isn't the biggest corner, but what traits does he have that make you think that he could be successful in the boundary position?
I don't know if he's going to play the boundary. Tariq's got, he's got a lot of traits that are, first of all, he plays the ball well in the air. He's got good speed, and I think the areas that also make him a really good Power 5 corner is that he's got experience. So he brings experience, ball skills, and speed. He's got to continue to get stronger, right, physically. But I know Mike's really high on him early on in what he's seen. And, as to where he plays, whether he's in the boundary field, right or left, that's still to be determined. Okay? All right, thank you.
Thanks.